The My Energy Balance website is designed to help you analyze your diet, how much you ate, and the nutritional value of what you ate, in addition to analyzing your energy expenditure and your energy balance. But in this tutorial, we're really going to focus on the issue of accurately measuring your dietary intake and then being able to analyze your dietary intake. This is sometimes a little bit tricky to do. The accuracy of your dietary intake really depends on basically two main factors. The first is how accurately are you able to recall and record what you ate. Hopefully the My Energy Balance website and also the My Energy Balance iPhone app, if you're using it, will help you do this, and that if you are good at going to the website and remembering what you ate, then you should get a fairly accurate record of all the foods that you eat over the course of the day. At the end of this tutorial, I'll give you some additional hints that may help you do this more accurately. And the other factor that will impact how accurate your diet analysis is how well you are able to estimate how much you ate. So it's one thing to estimate that, or to record that you, for example, had some butter on your bread in the morning. It's another thing to accurately describe for the program how much butter you had. For some foods, this can be fairly easy. Here's an example of a banana in the diet analysis program, and we're asked to indicate how much or what serving size banana we are using. And among the choices are one large banana or one small banana. So you can easily choose a fairly recognizable serving description for the banana that you ate. If you had a medium-sized banana, you'd put down one medium-sized banana. If you ate half of it, you would indicate that you only had a half of that medium-sized banana. But for other foods, it can be a little bit trickier. Here's an example of butter, for example, and you can see that the serving descriptions are a little bit trickier. One of the options is to describe it in terms of cups of butter or tablespoons of butter. And many of us may not have a good sense of what a cup of butter looks like or what a tablespoon of butter looks like. So in this tutorial, I'm going to give you some hints for helping you estimate serving sizes by a couple of methods. There are really two convenient reference methods that you can easily use for estimating common serving sizes. The first relies on reference to some common household objects as a comparison, and the other relies on just using various parts of your hand as a means of estimating various types of portion sizes. So let's look at these two briefly. For example, many of us have a sense of what a baseball size feels like. Even if you don't have a baseball around the house, you pretty much know what a baseball feels like. Many of you will. And so you can think of a baseball as representing about 1 cup of a food like pasta or rice or chili. So if you eat what is equivalent to 2 baseball size amounts of pasta, then that would be equal to about 2 cups of pasta. A tennis ball would represent about a half a cup of a food like pasta or rice, and a golf ball would represent about a quarter cup of a dry food like nuts or pistachios or almonds, something like that. So with just these 3 simple reference sizes, you can do a fairly good job of estimating, in terms of a cup reference, how much of the food that you ate. Another common reference object is a deck of cards. A deck of cards is equivalent to about 3 ounces of meat or fish or chicken. So for every deck of card equivalent of these foods that you eat, that would represent about 3 ounces. If you eat 2 decks of cards equivalent of a particular meat, that would be approximately equal to 6 ounces of meat. Another convenient measurement, using the golf ball again, for foods like peanut butter or cream cheese or other soft kinds of foods, is that a golf ball represents about 2 tablespoons of those kinds of foods. So it represents about a quarter cup of food if you're talking about a loose food like nuts, for example, and it represents about 2 tablespoons of food if you're talking about more of a creamy, soft food like peanut butter or cream cheese. 1 tablespoon of a food like butter, for example, is equivalent to about the size of a poker chip. So when you think about how much bread you spread on your toast in the morning, for every poker chip equivalent of butter that you spread, that's equivalent to about 1 tablespoon of butter or mayonnaise or salad dressing, for example. And finally, For foods that have a volume that might represent something like an hors d'oeuvre cheese, for every 3 dice volume equivalent, that's equivalent to about 1.5 ounces of the food. Or for every 2 dice, it would be about 1 ounce of the food. So when you're thinking of foods that have that sort of a shape to it or a size to it, think of each dice being equivalent to about 1/2 ounce, 2 dice being about 1 ounce, 3 dice being about 1.5 ounces. But if you have trouble with these types of comparisons to these common household objects, you can also use your hand to help you estimate portion size. So for example, the palm of your hand, I know everybody's hand is a little bit different, but it's still pretty accurate. The palm of your hand is equal to about a deck of cards, roughly, and it's also equivalent, therefore, to about 3 ounces of a meat or a fish or a poultry, chicken kind of serving. So for every equivalent of 1 palmful of food, a palm volume of food, that would be equivalent to about 3 ounces of these types of foods. Your fist, a closed fist, is approximately equal to a cup of food. So again, we used the baseball example earlier, but a clenched fist is about the same size, and that would be equivalent to about a cup of pasta or a cup of rice or a cup of vegetables when you're estimating serving size. A cupped handful of food, not a heaping cupped handful, but a small cupped handful of food, is approximately equal to 1 ounce of a loose food like nuts or raisins or chips. So for every little handful of food that you eat, that's equivalent to about 1 ounce of those foods. The tip of your thumb, basically the volume of your thumbnail, or the equivalent area of your thumbnail, is equivalent to about 1 teaspoon of oil or butter or mayo. So it's a little smaller than the poker chip, which was about 1 tablespoon. But for every thumbnail equivalent of these types of foods that you eat, you can think of that as being equivalent to about 1 teaspoon of food. And your complete thumb, basically from the tip of your thumb to about the second joint, is equal to about 1 ounce of food, of a food like peanut butter or a hard cheese, for example. So for every thumbful, complete thumbful of these foods that you consume, that's equivalent to about 1 ounce. So if you keep these kinds of references in mind, it'll be helpful in being able to estimate your serving sizes pretty accurately without worrying about exactly how much a cup is or an ounce is. Just use these simple references, whether it be the baseball and tennis ball and deck of cards, or whether it just be a part of your hand. But as I mentioned earlier, the accuracy of your diet analysis depends not only on how accurate you're able to measure how much of a food you've eaten, but also how accurately you can recall and record what you ate. And remembering every detail of what you ate over the course of a day can be challenging and tricky. Obviously, we hope that the iPhone app and the website, if you're using the iPhone app, but the website will help you do this. But even with the website and even with the iPhone app, there may be some things that you can do to help you recall some of the foods that you've eaten. And in this remaining part of the tutorial, I'm going to provide you with some hints that may help you do this and some questions you can ask yourself. The first is with regard to beverages. Did you have any beverage before the meal? Did you have any beverage with the meal, after the meal? Have you had anything to drink during an athletic activity or at the gym? This could be things like juice or milk or energy drinks, sports drinks, coffee, tea, soda, any of these kinds of things. So think about what beverages you've consumed over the course of the day and try to remember to record those in the diet analysis program. Think also about any condiments that you had during the course of the day, whether it be on the sandwich or a side dish, atop a salad, as a dip, maybe something that you added to a beverage. So anything like ketchup or mustard or relish or barbecue sauce, cooking oil, salad dressing, marinades, sugar to a drink, etc. Any of these things, try to remember to record them in your daily diet analysis. Some various food extras that you sometimes may add to the food and not always think about, that you might add on top of a food, for example. Things like croutons or bacon bits or shredded cheese or nuts, etc. So when you're analyzing and recording your diet, try to recall whether any of these things should be included in that day's diet. Candy. Think about any gum or candy that you ate over the course of the day. Things like chocolate or gummy bears, even sugar-free candy items, hard candies, anything that you might have eaten over the course of the day in the candy category. Sometimes you do this sort of just quickly in the afternoon as a quick snack. Try to remember what those were and record them in the My Energy Balance website. And then when you're all done, go over the previous 24 hours one more time. Try to recall anything else that you might have forgotten, and make sure that you record it. Did you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Did you eat several smaller meals? That might help you recall what you ate. Did you snack between any meals? Did you drink anything with your meals or snacks? Did you eat a dessert? Was dinner or dessert the last thing you ate before going to bed? Did you eat any late night snacks? Between being comfortable with how to estimate how much of a food you've eaten and being comfortable that you've accurately recorded all of the foods that you've eaten, you'll end up with a quite accurate dietary analysis using the My Energy Balance website.